Hi. One sentence from my son's teacher made me think that I did not care. 2 weeks later, I realized that she cared a lot more than had imagined. So today, I want to talk about my story. I want to talk about time. In my earlier video, we spoke about time and how it is important uh, to reply or not reply uh, quite quickly and what message that sends. And now I want to talk about time in another context. So let me tell you my story. So my son was in first or second grade, I don't remember. We had just come to Switzerland. So, yes, this story is also about immigration, about adaptation, about respecting and comprehending the culture in which we live in, and trying to see what we're understanding and misunderstanding, what we should adapt and understand, and what are the things that we may scrutinize but still accept. So, when we come to a different culture, we are bound to have different situations. So this was one of them. I put my son in school and he was not really well because he didn't speak French. So a few days later, I mean, he came home. He was never really, he was not happy. So I was starting to panic, thinking, well, there should be something that I can do as a mom. What could I do? So I went to the school. I picked him up and I spoke with the teacher. And I didn't speak French at that moment, at that time either. So I addressed her in English and she replied in her broken English. So, but we managed to get our ideas across. So I said that I felt that my son, who just started school here, who doesn't speak French, he's quite stressed. He doesn't really feel like he's fully integrating, so it seems. And maybe there's something that we can do. Is there something that you can suggest that we do? And can we have a conversation about it? And she went to her calendar and she set the meeting in 2 weeks. I can tell you I was really shocked. This was the shock. For me, this was an emergency. For me, this was my son not feeling well. And my interpretation immediately, coming from a culture where things are kind of being dealt with much more quickly than most of the time in Europe, I felt like, well, this is not important, or she doesn't have time. But in the end, I understood that is actually quite the opposite. It is not what she meant at all. And this is actually what happened. 2 weeks later, when I walked into the classroom, after having gone on a roller coaster of emotions because I was not prepared for this kind of situation, um, I walked into a meeting, one of the most thoughtful meetings I've ever had with a teacher. Um, she hadn't actually delayed because she did not care. She delayed because she wanted time to observe my son. And every statement that she made was supported by examples, and she had really prepared. And then I understood that in Switzerland, and many people also in business complain about this, we have a different understanding of time. And I think maybe in many European countries, Europeans are usually slow and they are this and that. And some cultures value speed, and sometimes speed is very important because it does communicate certain things. But there's other side of it, and that's completeness. Neither is automatically better, but if you don't understand the system you're in, you can very easily misread people's intentions. So the hidden lesson, and I am talking about the French-speaking part of Switzerland because that's where I learned my lesson, but it's definitely part of the larger continental European code. I learned that taking time is actually a sign of respect. And I don't mean taking time by replying to your email, but taking time and giving you time to prepare. So most of the meetings are actually set at least 2 weeks in advance. Normally, an invitation to a dinner at your home or to do something together, unless you're very, very close friends, usually you give 1 month notice. And usually you kind of wait for the date so people don't confuse the date of the next month. For example, if you have a dinner on the 21st, you would send out the invitation on the 22nd of the month before. Or most of the time, if there's a business or business meeting, but event, I should say. Business meetings usually happen much quicker, but a business event, people save the date, and that could be done even 2 or 3 months in advance. But anyway, let's go back to that story. So my story was that the message of taking the 2 weeks to observe my son, it was not that I'll get to it eventually, or I don't have time right now, I'm too overwhelmed. No, it was, I hear you and I want to do this properly. I want to really see what we're talking about. And once we have the data, then we can discuss potential solutions. So this is something that I learned to appreciate only later. And this is why I'm making the video, so you may not have to go through this. So don't confuse delay with indifference. Of course, not every delay is thoughtful, and I already mentioned that. An email, you should respond within a day or two, or sometimes people are simply busy. Of course, you have to also respect that. And the point is just not to assume. The point is to look at the whole picture, or sometimes just to ask a simple question. Why do you think 2 weeks from now is a better time than tomorrow, for example? And that gives somebody an opportunity to explain, so you know in advance. So the things that you need to look at is, did they acknowledge your request? Did they give you a time? Did they keep their promise? And these are much better indicators than speed alone. So that experience changed how I interpret waiting. And sometimes the greatest gift another person gives you isn't speed. It's actually careful attention. And the greatest cultural misunderstandings are rarely about language. They are often about the meaning we give to time. And this was my experience. I hope it was helpful. And write in your comments if you have other observations, other questions. And I look forward to engaging with you. And if you have different ideas for topics, do let me know. Take care.